And welcome into the Friday edition, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Friday morning. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership where the buzz is always about great service. Joe Rexrode, good morning. How we doing? What's going on?
We're doing okay, man. We're doing okay. Not much going on.
We're doing all right. We'll get into Joe's snap-by-snap breakdown of the Hall of Fame game coming up here in just a few minutes. Looking forward to that. Ian Safar, what's going on? How we doing?
Happy Friday, everybody. Let's get the weekend going. Clinging on to our last little bit of summer.
Clinging on.
Barely, but clinging.
School's starting. Before we know it, the leaves will be falling.
Temperatures dropping.
Temperatures dropping.
Yep. Crisp nights, sun setting early, getting dark, all that fun stuff.
85 degrees today is going to feel like a nice winter day compared to what it's been around here lately. So we'll just appreciate what's going on right now this time of year. Before we get rolling today, as I'm sure most of you are aware by now, Jared Stillman is no longer with us here at 102.5 The Game. And, I just want to start on this. I've had my run-ins with Jared. I think there are, Joe, some people that believe that or have believed at times that we don't like Jared and we legitimately don't like. That's not true. I consider Jared a good friend of mine. And I think Jared is an incredibly talented radio broadcaster. And people say this when things like this happen of I know they're going to do great things in their next stop, but I know it. I know that Jared is going to be great at whatever comes next for him. So I just want to kind of open things up here, Joe, by acknowledging Jared Stillman and, the role that he's played here at this station, the role that he's played on our show. He is an incredibly talented human being, an incredibly kind human being, and I wish Jared Stillman nothing but the absolute best as he moves forward here. And it's a sad day here at our station, but as he said earlier, and he's talked about this many times, this day comes. So I want to start the show today by just acknowledging Jared Stillman, the role that he's played at this station, and the friendship that he is, I know, Joe, to both of us.
Hate that guy. He sucks. No, I'm kidding. No, we love Jared, and that's never changed. And yeah, no question. Well said on your part. I've got a few things I want to say at 7:45.
Yep. Oh yeah, we'll definitely get into that coming up at 7:45. Ian, obviously I know you spent a long time with Jared.
Oh
clearly,
yeah, some would say too long.
Some would say. So whatever you'd like to take the opportunity to say now, just give the floor to you.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, obviously, I started working on Jared in the GM. That was August of 2016. So yeah, I've been working with Jared off and on there. Well, pretty much as that role it was almost for a while. And we had talked, I don't know, I guess it was almost 10 years. Yeah. And when I moved to mornings, we kind of went over this whole thing. I was in afternoons, moved to mornings because we lost our childcare. So moved some stuff around for life changes. But yeah, I mean, working with Jared was always, you knew he worked hard and he was going to be prepared and it was going to be an entertaining and fun show. So, he's a good friend, and it sucks when your friend, something like that happens. So you wish him the best. But, here I think DVD moving to the afternoons, I really liked what Adams brought to the table there. I think that show's been good. Jake Lyman, I don't know how familiar people are with Jake, but he's a nice young up-and-coming kid, does Vanderbilt women's play-by-play. He'll be added to the lineup, so that'll be fun. But yeah, gonna miss hearing Jared in the afternoons for sure, and hearing him rant and rave about whatever. But I'm sure he'll be around not too far.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure we've not heard the last from Jared. So just wanted to start the show today by acknowledging Jared and the role that he's played here at this station, and he will certainly be missed. There's no doubt about that, and we'll have a little bit more to say about that later in the program coming up as well. Joe, things did not go well last night for your beloved Detroit Lions in the Hall of Fame game, which I know is just devastating to you. You're looking at the stats, and number one, apparently Trey Lance in the preseason is just a baller. out there. And when he's not throwing the ball to the other team, which he did not do last night, looked pretty good. He was 13 of 20 for 120 yards, 2 touchdowns. Hendon Hooker threw 6 passes, 18 yards, 1 interception. Not to be outdone, Kyle Allen, 9 of 14, 91 yards, 2 picks. So a total of 104 yards passing for the beloved Detroit Lions last night.
Yeah, pretty ugly game. The Lions fumble the opening kickoff, and then they fumble the opening punt of the second half. So, I mean, they showed the little handshake afterward, and Harbaugh was being his normal goofball weirdo self. And Dan Campbell looked like he wanted to punch him in the face. But man, I watched the whole game. Really mostly to wait to see how Hendon Hooker would do. His pick was actually a fantastic throw on a post. I think it was like a 4th and short, and it was a beautiful throw right into the hands of Dominic Lovett. People may remember him from Georgia, and he kind of let it pop out of his hands and get ripped away by the DB. So that one was a good one. But yeah, man, I don't know. It's they've been alternating with the 2s and 3s. So Kyle Allen got the start because Hendon Hooker started the scrimmage. So maybe some of it is that, but it was just too much one read and tuck still from Hendon. I was kind of disappointed with a few of those where it's like you actually had time. You got to get through those progressions, and he didn't. But Kyle Allen threw a couple terrible picks. So that's probably the best news for Hendon Hooker is that it's not like Kyle Allen said, this is my job as QB2 of the Lions. But it was too bad because I still feel like there's definitely something there with Hendon Hooker, but he needs to get it moving here.
Well, I told you yesterday off the air, like if he can't separate himself throughout camp from Kyle Allen in a competition, then that's a problem. I think that probably tells you at this point what you need to know if he can't separate himself from Kyle Allen. And look, I'm not trying to totally tear down Kyle Allen, but I think we know at this point, having been in the league for 7 years, what Kyle Allen is, and it's not a very good quarterback. So if Hooker can't get through this camp and by the end of it really separate himself as the clear number 2 for Detroit, then that is not a very good sign to me on where his NFL career is headed.
No, I agree. It's always, like I said, I mean, even with this, it's 2s, 3s, even 2s. There are times, I mean, if in the NFL, you're playing with 2s. If you have one glaring weak spot, and you probably do, on that offensive line, you watch preseason games, you do see a lot. To me, I see a lot more low-end roster D linemen beating low-end roster O linemen.
Yeah.
I think that's a kind of a feature of those parts of the rosters, which sucks for those QBs. But at the same time, man, I mean, that's the opportunity you have, so you have to make the most of it. So it was too bad. Other than that, there just wasn't much. I mean, the Lions played no starters. They did play the rookie Isaac Tesla, who I think is going to be pretty good from Arkansas. Yeah, but Trey Lance, man, I gotta say, preseason game, take it for. I think Trey Lance is giving himself a chance to. At this point, if you can stick as a QB2 in this league, given all that's happened with him, that's pretty good. He did look good to me.
So did you watch the entire Hall of Fame game? I would love to know how many people out there joined Rexrode and watched the entire Hall of Fame game last night.
Yeah, probably a small crowd. I will say, because we were sitting here and it's like, I mean, we're close here to shipping a kid number 2 to college, and it's like, we were talking about, it's like, I mean, how many more football games are we gonna watch? We're not watching more games together. I guess we got to watch this freaking Hall of Fame game together, So, so that was part of it. It was like, well, gosh, I guess we should watch this football game because, there's more preseason games coming, but of course, he's heading up to the land of the Lions to be miserably disappointed when they go 9-8 this year. But so that was part of it. But yeah, I mean, I wanted to watch. If Hendon Hooker started the first half, and then I probably would have gone to bed. But I wanted to watch him and see if he could make a go of it. It's too bad that last throw couldn't have been hauled in because it was actually finally a really good throw from him.
Yeah, well, we'll see how that competition shakes out throughout camp here, and if Hendon Hooker ends up being the clear number 2. We talked to Charles Robinson yesterday. A lot of eyes on former Tennessee quarterbacks in the preseason this year. I'm sure the first snap that Joe Milton takes down there for the Dallas Cowboys. Going to be a fun one. So we'll look forward to all that. Speaking of, one quick note on Tennessee, real quick. Joe, on the recruiting front, they land a 5-star athlete. Now he's a running back, but he has been listed as an athlete. So Salisi Moa, out of the state of Utah, and it looked like he was going to stay at home in Utah. And Tennessee and Josh Heupel went in there and snatched him away, which, depending on where you look now, Joe, has got them either right on the verge of a top 10 recruiting class for next year or now firmly in the top 10, which we've always talked about how important that is. And we'll see, how many of those players 3 years from now are actually still on the team.
But that's good, man. That's what you got to do. Like you said, I mean, the blue chip ratio, that's still, as of now, that stuff is still playing out into mattering in the bottom line. So, I mean, that's a good development. But yeah, it's just like this year for sure. And moving forward, let's see some more of these guys kind of emerge, after a year or two of development and really make a difference for the Vols.
John Robinson, former Titans general manager, sat down for an hour yesterday with Chase and Big Joe, and they got into all sorts of different topics. We'll get to some that stood out to us coming up next. Take your thoughts at 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game.
Do you think people realize how much she truly cares about that franchise and that team and now this city? Because I do think she does. I mean, she wouldn't be
There's
doing
no
this.
doubt.
Right.
She loves the team. I mean, it's been in her family for forever, right?
Yeah.
And there's nothing more than, and I'm not trying to speak for her. It's just, I think that she wants to bring a championship to this city and to this state. And she cares about it. She really, really cares about it. And I certainly felt that in my time there. And I was extremely appreciative of her passion to chase greatness.
That's John Robinson yesterday with Chase and Big Joe. Sat down for about an hour. Pretty interesting conversation yesterday on the program. Joe, if I could ad-lib a little bit there for John Robinson as well. I'm also very happy that she is still paying me to not be the general manager of the Tennessee Titans. Very, very happy that Amy is still cashing that check. Good stuff.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That is, first of all, good job. I mean, he stayed for an hour. I enjoyed the conversation. I thought Chase and Big Joe did a good job.
Yep.
I think that any of the questions that reasonably you wanted asked, again, like, why are you such a dumb head, is not one of the questions that should have been, I mean, I think that they asked good questions. As everybody I think would know, but just to be clear, like, he's, when people get fired like him in a job like that, they sign a non-disclosure agreement.
Yeah.
It's still in effect. He's still getting paid. So yeah, like, there was never going to be any like dirt or anything but John, quote unquote, taking the high road. I mean,
Right.
you'd be completely out of your mind not to take the high road. But I thought that it was still interesting. There was some interesting conversation around some of the stuff, that happened, some of the big moments people want to talk about, and I think it's just like any time, whether it's you're talking to him or you're just talking about him, it is complicated. And like I think you said yesterday, Robbie, it's like when you still add everything up together, he's the second best GM the Titans have had after this franchise has had after after Floyd Reese. Now, again, you go back in the 70s, and it was like, I mean, I think really kind of like Bum Phillips was kind of the GM, right? Like, it's
but definitely
a different
specifically
setup.
in Nashville. Yeah,
exactly. Specifically in Nashville. Yeah, for sure. Easily. So, but yeah, it was, I thought it was a good conversation. And honestly, if I had one takeaway, because it's not like we learned anything earth shaking about any of these moves or anything, but one takeaway, I've thought this before, but again, as he went through it, we see him doing some things. If he wants to do media, I think he'd do well. I think he could be good. Now, it sounds like he wants to stay in. He's doing some different things, consulting.
Yep.
I mean, obviously, if the fact that he's been interviewing for jobs means he probably wants to get back, into some extent. But also, I thought he had some really interesting stuff about family life and life balance and things like that were getting real tough for him in this job, as you would expect they would be for anybody in a job like that.
Yeah, for sure. I thought that was really interesting. And, he talked about how, when you're a general manager, you're in the front office of an NFL team, you just miss a lot of stuff with your kids and with your family. And, you get back and then you kind of take stock of it and you're like, man, I've missed a lot. So yeah, I wonder how that affects him moving forward. He talked about, he's had, he brought up the Jets interview that he had this past offseason, the Jags interview he had this past offseason. And I think he even said before all that there were some other opportunities that he just didn't feel like the timing was right on. So, I'm interested to see what he does. He also threw out the idea, Joe, of, like maybe starting a podcast, because he was like, everybody starts a podcast now. So why not? And maybe get some general managers on and kind of open them up and people can see what they are. So yeah, like I'm interested to see what he does next. Like, let's say he gets to a point, where, the contract with the Titans is finally up and he's not getting money anymore. And, his family's growing up now. Let's say he wants to be all the way back in and he's all the way back in and trying to be a general manager. Does anybody hire him? That's going to be the thing. Like, as time goes on and there's more separation from his tenure, is that a good thing or a bad thing for him in interview process? Like, if, another couple years go by and it's been 5 years since he's had a general manager job and since he's really been in the league on an official capacity, what's that going to mean for him? Because, we've talked about this 1,000 times, Joe, but for whatever reason, you just don't see a whole lot of general managers get second chances at general manager jobs in the National Football League.
You don't. I think, to answer your question, I would think that the more you're out, the harder it makes it for you.
I would agree.
Because a lot of this really is just a daily being all over the personnel in this league, being all over the scouting of college players and just having that sort of like as second nature knowledge, right? Just because you're in it. And if you're not in it, you're just losing touch with the churn is constant in this league. So I think that's probably part of it. So like, for example, the Titans obviously have a couple former GMs who are now in their front office. And that's probably, realistically, based on the history of this league, that's probably like the best. That's probably what they're going to do now, right? Is be part of a front office. But if the Titans completely, if this turns into absolute magic and they start drafting like the Detroit Lions did for a few years, like do one of those guys get another look somewhere to be the head guy as a GM? I mean, that's your best hope, is to latch on somewhere, be part of something fantastic, part of something that's just like, whoa, look at what those guys did. And then I think you'd potentially have another chance, but it's very rare. But being part of it, being part of a front office, being in the game, that's like he said yesterday. And, he's a linebackers coach at Nicholls State, and he gets a chance to be like an area scout for the Pats, and you just kind of work your way up from then on all the way through being a GM. He did the job to some capacity. So if you love doing that, I think certainly he could get a front office job of some kind.
Well, obviously yesterday the AJ Brown stuff came up. We'll get into that here in just a few minutes. He was asked about some of the draft picks, be it Isaiah Wilson or Traylon Burks or Caleb Farley, and he didn't say a ton about those guys, Joe, as you mentioned, and all the kind of the decision making that went into it. He talked about Burks and just the injuries that he's dealt with, and kind of the same thing with Farley of just you draft a guy, and I think he said with Farley, at one point when he was healthy, he was viewed as maybe being a top 10 guy in terms of talent, and they found him in the 20s. So they felt like that was good value, and then it just didn't work. Well, that's about all he said on, like the draft pick part of it, which I didn't expect him to go in there and say much more than that. But, I think a lot of people were really interested to see, what his thoughts were going to be on those three specifically: Isaiah Wilson, Farley, and Burks.
Yeah, the Isaiah Wilson, he made the analogy of like a dating app, and then like the person shows up different than the picture on the dating app. I thought that was interesting.
You got Catfish by Isaiah Wilson.
Yeah. How about that? Yeah, is that show still on?
That's a great question. I don't know.
Like MTV, right?
Yeah.
I saw a thing about MTV on Twitter. It was like 43rd birthday for MTV. Thanks for 14 amazing years of music. That was pretty good.
It's good.
Yeah, that was funny. I actually, his answer on Farley, I mean, that was the only answer he gave where I was like, because he's talked about all the stuff that happened to him after.
Yeah.
And obviously the horrible tragedy too was part of it after. But I mean, I think they may have been a little bit of downplaying of like the concerns that were staring everyone in the face about him coming into the draft, right?
No,
but I think
Skiatika?
he also
didn't bring up the Skiatika.
He did not. Yeah, he didn't make enough as he probably should have about Skiatika. I do think that the answer of that, and I don't know if we have that, Ian has that, but I think he did confirm in that answer to those guys, basically that like the Jeff Simmons success was a factor in trying to do it again, right? I mean, it was make all these jokes like, oh, if somebody's hurt, John Robinson, like rubbing his hands, and all that stuff. I mean, I think that is one thing with that answer is that he sort of acknowledged, like, look what happened with Jeff. He has an ACL. You get him at a spot you probably wouldn't have gotten before. So the same thing with Caleb Farley. It's just that, man, there's such a big difference. And again, we've talked about all this a million times, but back stuff, man. No one ever says, I used to have back problems. That's not a used to thing. I have back problems my entire life.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll take some of your thoughts on John Robinson's interview with Chase and Big Joe yesterday. He did discuss the A.J. Brown trade and that situation. We'll get to some of his comments on that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. 1025 The Game and Souls for Souls have teamed up for a back-to-school fundraiser, Souls for the 615, to provide new shoes for kids experiencing homelessness in Nashville. You can help a child in Middle Tennessee step into the new school year with confidence by donating $20 for a new pair of athletic shoes. For more information and to donate, visit thegamenashville.com/shoes. Soles for the 615, sponsored by Macero and 12 South. Go check them out for handcrafted cocktails, bold plates, great happy hour, and elevated hospitality. Taking your thoughts at 615-737-1025. John Robinson sat down for an hour yesterday with Chase and Big Joe, and they got into a lot of different things relating to his tenure with the Titans. But, Joe, I think a lot of people were very interested to see what John Robinson would say on the A.J. Brown front. And obviously we spent, just an unbelievable amount of time discussing the A.J. Brown trade since John Robinson has been fired and since, he's gone to Philadelphia, done what he's done. Things have gone the way they've gone for the Titans in the aftermath of that one. Here is what John Robinson had to say yesterday on the A.J. Brown front.
That's a topic everybody probably is tuning in to hear about. And I can't, as I would love to give in the details. I can't go into the details on it, but there was just a lot of discussion that went into that decision. Ultimately, it was my responsibility to make the decision, and again, if I had one of those mulligans, I would probably do that. And that's nothing against Traylon or anybody else, but I think AJ's went on to have a great run. I'm proud of him. I'm proud of where he's at, and what he's been able to accomplish. But sure, I mean, in hindsight, if you had a do-over, I mean, I'd be an idiot to sit here and say, no, I'll do it again. Like, no, you'd do it different. But we made the decision that we made, and then, the rest is what it is.
When you say, if you can't talk about it, I understand it. When you say we, who is we?
Well, anytime you make a decision, right, it's collectively as an organization. There's a lot of people involved, right? It's not like it's like when the offensive coordinator or the defensive coordinator, when they call a play on Sunday, it's not like they're shooting from the hip and they're like, oh, I'm just going to run this play, even though you haven't practiced it, you haven't talked about it, you haven't watched it on film. Like, you go through every scenario with the organization, and it's the same thing in roster building. It's like you're going through, your free agency stuff, you're going through trade proposals, you're going through draft prep, and you talk internally and you meet, and you come up with scenarios. All right, we can do A, we can do B, we can do C, and as a team, and I think I said this at the press conference after we made the move. It's like we collectively we made a decision to do this, and that's what we did.
That was John Robinson on the A.J. Brown trade yesterday, Joe. What did you make of the way he handled that and the answer to the question I think a lot of people were wanting to know yesterday?
Yeah, well, I think the part of it that some people need to hear, actually Chase and Big Joe in particular, is ultimately it was it's my decision. Then he went into collectively, and like Big Joe said, who is we? Later, I think it was right after that, Big Joe asked him like about the Vrabel reaction and stuff. Yeah. Obviously,
he didn't really want to get much into that.
No, but he didn't. The thing is, but again, I do think some people took the Vrabel reaction like Vrabel's sitting there. It's like, okay, who are we going to draft? And then it's like, hey, Mike, we just traded AJ. You did what? You did what? I mean, of course they all knew what was going on. They all talked about it. You have to have the blessing of the owner. I mean, there were people seriously thought especially after Amy fired him, like John just did this, got on his phone in the bathroom. Okay. All right, here we go. I'm making the trade. I know we got to do this fast.
Need a distraction.
They're listening.
Team.
Yeah. I mean, of course, Amy, this is the argument we've gotten in this with Chase and me, Joe, about why, John being blamed for this, it's on the owner. It's like, I mean, if you're going to say it that way, then again, every move that's ever made in the NFL, let's not blame any of the GMs. Let's just blame the owners. I promise you, none of these GMs do things like, remember the Arthur Blank thing when they drafted Penix?
Oh yeah.
And we even talked about it. It was like, it looked like Arthur Blank's like, hey, what's going on, guys? What are you doing here? Right? You drafted a quarterback? But it's like, of course, that's stupid. Obviously, the owner knows. So Amy gave the blessing, but like John said there, hear it, listen to it. Ultimately, they have to put their trust in him. The owners, unless we're talking just And I know we have this going on right now with Cleveland, right? We got Jimmy Haslam out there basically said, yeah, the GM did it. And no one believing him because of, the way that those guys reacted when they drafted Shedeur Sanders. But for 99.99% of this, it's like the owner's like, okay, I'm paying you a crap ton of money what do we do? Like sometimes an owner might say, I'm not paying it, but this was his decision with them all collectively talking about it. And good for him for saying that, if I could have a mulligan, I'd do it over. I mean, some people I don't think would say that. I think some people might just be like, well, yeah.
Even doubling down. He's like, yeah, I'd be an idiot to do it the same way again.
Yeah. And so, I mean, there's nothing to me learned in that, but just some of the different conversations around that just that want to twist your brain into circles when it's very simple. I mean, the GM is the one negotiating. They were very upset with AJ's agent, and they came back and said, no, that's not okay. And when it comes down to it, AJ and his agent end up, much better for this. They won, right? I mean,
yeah.
And of course, no one could know at the time that things would go as poorly with Traylon Burks as they did. But I give, I give him credit for kind of talking about that as much as you probably could given the situation.
Let's head to our 1025 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Kenny the mailman to the program. Kenny, good morning. How we doing?
Good morning, good friends. I had a comment on the interview, but first of all, you was talking about Caleb Farley, and you said some kind of word like sciatica. What did that mean?
Well, it's supposed to be sciatica, but Rexrode misfired on that a couple years ago. Called it sciatica.
Okay. I did not know if that was a secret word that was going back and forth. It was like, I get it now.
Oh, yeah.
May of 2027 is going to be an amazing date, and there'll probably be a lot of jockeying over who can get the first actual interview with John Robinson, because that's when he gets his last check from the Titans. Yesterday, it was like Joe Dubin, John Robinson, and you needed a Saturday Night Live interpreter to tell you what John Robinson was trying to say, because he was, in a way, saying, of course I'm not an idiot. This is what really happened. But until you get that, last payment, you're not going to be able to hear it exactly. Rexrode, this was before you were at town, but Robby, did you ever get to go to a John McLean dinner when he was hosting?
I did not go to a dinner, but I've heard some great stories.
Those were the best things that ever happened to me. It opened my eyes, because I sort of think I'm well informed. I listen all day, read everything. I know about 30% of every story, because we don't know the pettiness behind the scenes, the hurt feelings from the owners, the infighting, the jealousy among the players. Well, he makes $100 more than me. When you start hearing stories like that, you go, oh my goodness, we don't know what the linchpin of some of these stories are. It's just sometimes simple pettiness. So until we hear all the behind the scene things, you sort of have to piece it together. But y'all do a great job on the station giving us what we can give. Y'all have a great day.
Thank you, Kenny. Appreciate you, man. Yeah, it's I will say, I mean, I do wonder, when the time comes where the Titans are no longer paying him, Joe, is there ever a point where he decides to just he said it was interesting. I did find that interesting, because when they first asked him the question about AJ, he's like, I can't go into details. I would love to go into all the details, is what he said, but I just can't do it right now. So I wonder if that day ever comes.
Yeah, I'd be surprised. I'd be surprised if all of a sudden he'd be like, all right, guys, here we go.
Some of that depends on what his next stop in his career is.
Yeah, exactly. Here is everything Amy said. Here's our whole text chain. Okay. When she forced me to do it. No. Yeah, I don't, there's probably a little less hesitation here and there, but especially if you're going to be in this business,
right.
The NDA is one thing, but also it's like, oh, this guy totally burns people that he works with and tells all afterwards. So no, thanks. You can go look at another organization. We don't want you in this one. Yeah. Maybe at some point, like retired and writing a tell-all book, although I also just don't think that's his style. So I don't think there's going to be like a gold mine there. I'd be surprised. And also, is Kenny trolling me on Sciatica? Is he trolling me?
I hope so.
Sciatica. That was pretty good. What is that? What is that word? Skia what? Would you guys? Yeah. It'll never die.
It will never
It
die.
will never die.
615-737-1025, our phone number. A prominent player in the NFL looks like they're fed up with their situation. What's the next step, and should the Titans get involved? We'll get into all that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Taking your thoughts at 615-737-1025. Tune in to ESPN 94.9 The Fan today as the Nashville Sounds take on Scranton Wilkes-Barre. Pregame at 5:20, first pitch at 5:35. Coverage also available on the Game Nashville app and at thegamenashville.com. Sounds baseball on ESPN 94.9 The Fan, presented by Twin Peaks and Family Leisure. Joe, Terry McLaurin, as we've talked about, is in a heavy contract dispute with the Washington Commanders. And apparently, as of yesterday, he has had enough and has requested a trade. So McLaurin has not been in training camp to this point. He has reported he has not been on the field. And apparently he's been holding in. And then, like, I guess after practice has just been walking out there and signing autographs for fans for like 30 minutes per day and then going back inside the building. But has not been on the field to this point. Doesn't sound like there's been any sort of meaningful progress on a contract with him as well. And now he has requested a trade. So it's one thing to request a trade. We'll see if Washington actually decides to make a trade here or what that situation looks like. But we've talked about Terry McLaurin and the contract dispute with Washington. There have been some varying opinions on this from Titans fans. But now that he's officially requested a trade, does it make any sense at all in your mind, Joe, from the Titans standpoint to go to target Terry McLaurin? And the other side of that, which I think is way more of a tough sell, the Terry McLaurin part of this, do you want any part of a long-term extension with the Tennessee Titans?
I'd say probably no on both of those. 29 years old. He's making he's 18th among receivers right now. His AAV rate is about 23 mil. I mean, he's been trying to get a new deal for a while. Like you said, he's basically out there signing other guys and saying, "Hey, don't blame me. These guys suck." But here, I'll definitely take a picture with you. No, I don't. I just don't think the timing makes sense for the Titans. I understand any Titans fan will say, "Well, they need playmakers." Yeah, I agree, but he's not going to change the math on this year's team, right? I mean, look, Ridley McLaurin. Yeah, that could be interesting, but I still think that the Titans are so far away. So now you're going to pay him a ton right now as he gets into his 30s when you're trying to turn things around. I don't think it makes any sense. Obviously, a trade's a trade, so it's not, I mean, a trade is what it is ultimately, and he'd have to live with whatever that is. But I'm sure he would rather go to a place that has a chance to win and be successful right now.
Yeah, like I from his standpoint, like the Titans would be toward the bottom of the list of a destination where I think he'd be looking to go. On the one hand, he's gone through so much in Washington in terms of like they've just been so bad for so long, and now they're finally good, right? And they get the NFC title game last year, and it looks like they've got the quarterback part of this figured out, and there's new ownership in there, and it looks like the organization is completely turning around, and you're in the middle of a contract dispute. So, I mean, that part of it's got to be pretty frustrating for him. I'm interested to see if there's actually a resolution here. Guys have requested trades before and then end up working out a deal at that point. So I'm interested to see if that happens here. Like from the Titans standpoint, I tend to lean more with you. Like he's about to be 30 years old. With where you're at with your organization right now, I'll keep saying it. And look, maybe DK or Io Manor turn into with this guy. We'll see. But they need they need a young stud receiver at some point. And I'm not saying you can't have Calvin Ridley and Terry McLaurin and also eventually draft a stud receiver. But like I just think from a timing perspective right now, I would not be all that interested in putting together draft capital or whatever it would take to go get Terry McLaurin at this moment when you're so light on talent anyway and you're trying to build through the draft. At 30 years old, I would probably not enter my hat into the sweepstakes if I'm the Titans.
Yeah, well, a month away from turning 30. So again, like the new deal. So you get a new deal that starts when he turns 31.
Yeah.
And it's just the history of receivers at that age. Also, Nikki Jabala, who covers the Commanders for The Athletic, she cited sources saying that before he requested a trade, several teams called about the possibility, and they were all told the same thing: that we're not trading him. So I still feel like they'll figure this out. I mean, this is an indication that that obviously he's not happy with how the negotiations are at an impasse. But I still feel like they're going to figure something out here with him. It's just when it comes down to it, I think everybody probably expects them to take a step back this year. I do, just because, I mean, you're talking about the NFC Championship game, right?
Yeah.
But if you're them, I think it's you have to consider this right now. I mean, you have to be all in. I think, you're going to have Jaden Daniels for a long time, but you have an opportunity right now to do something. So I still think it's going to end up winding its way back to that, just like Trey Hendrickson now, who has gone back and he's doing the Holden thing, and that's going to end up working out just like the other, even as cheap as the Bengals organization is, it'll end up working out.
Trevor on the text line says it goes against their whole draft, develop, and retain model that they're going for. Plus, he's old, and the Titans aren't just a couple of pieces away from doing anything meaningful. It's a fart no for me on a possible trade. It's from Trevor on the text line. Mo says the way our wide receiver room looks, give the Commanders anybody and all the draft picks and a bunch of money for Terry McLaurin. So Mo's all in on the idea of going and get Terry McLaurin.
Yeah, he's good. I mean, you're acting like he's Justin Jefferson, okay? Like if we're talking about a guy like that at 26, okay, then
I'm all in.
Then yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, the guy he's good. He's very good. He's not worth that level of give it all up, man. I mean, Scary Terry, great nickname. Good player, but yeah, again, Mo. So do that. So give them anybody, give them draft picks, give them money, give them all this stuff. And what is your bottom line payoff for that?
9-8.
They're not gonna go 9-8 if they get him. That'd be
best case.
I mean, my goodness, if that was the case, I have my reason.
You're all in for 9-8. 9-8. Let's get there, baby.
Holy cow!
9-8.
I mean, 9-8 does sound pretty amazing, doesn't it?
It does, especially what we've been dealing with around here the last few years. Yeah, like I still, from purely a Titans perspective, the answer, I think the answer at wide receiver, and we'll see what Ridley does this year because, Ridley's going to have to be a big, important piece of this for the next couple of years. But I still feel like if Cam Ward looks like he's going to hit and he plays well this year, and even if he doesn't play well the next year, I still think one of the most immediate things that you're looking for if you're the Titans via the draft next year is to add that young, dynamic wide receiver. And again, I'm not discounting the possibility that maybe one or both of Io Manor and DK could be good players out there. I have my doubts that either one of them is going to be like a bona fide number one wide receiver in the league. And I still think that's the next step for the Titans to find in the draft.
Yeah, listen. And the thing is, I mean, there are, as we've talked about, there are some guys. I mean, the receiver draft of 20, and I know it's just this far away, but the receiver draft of 2027 is going to be absurd. I mean, I really like the top two guys could be receivers. They could be more coveted than any quarterback coming out that year. I mean, I say that, and it's like probably not, right? Probably not. Like probably they'll be, especially if Arch is going to wait a year. But I mean, there are the receivers, the ability to draft difference-making a receiver, to me, has increased. I think that, as we've talked about before, there are kids now who sort of could go either way. And it's like everybody's like, man, don't be a running back, because a running back, you'll last, they'll cut you the first chance they get. And so I think that and then just also, again, the scheme translation and the back and forth, it's much more translatable. There's a lot of talent out there. I mean, I think the Titans have actually done pretty well, at least in terms of talent level, with the fourth rounders they got this year. So yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, I think that next year, pretty high in that draft, you're going to be talking about a receiver.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. More your thoughts to get to on the Titans, and we will do that coming up next. Plus, maybe the Titans coaching staff getting a little bit more respect than we think around the league. We'll get into that as well. This week's Nashville's best deal is Prince's Hot Chicken. Nashville's original hot chicken, bursting with heat and flavor. There's nothing better than the original. For a limited time, grab half off a $25 gift card at thegamenashville.com/deals. This is Robby and Rexrode on 102.5 The Game. Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Friday morning. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership where the buzz is always about great service. Terron Davenport will be with us at 8 o'clock. We will get into all things Tennessee Titans with him, so looking forward to that conversation. Taking your thoughts in the meantime, 615-737-1025, the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode, coming up later this hour at 7:45. So, Joe, I stumbled across, I saw you in our extensive pre-show meeting today. We're going over the ideas of, what we could talk about today. And I saw you talk about this piece that ESPN.com had come out with. And the headline of it is ranking all 32 NFL teams' coaching staffs and coordinators in 2025. And, Joe, I'll be honest with you. When I saw that headline, I was like, well, the Titans are going to be squarely at like 31. And it's going to be pretty bad. And then I look, and they're not at 32, and they're not at 31. 30 goes by, still no Titans. 29, still no Titans. 28, still no Titans. I'm like, oh, my goodness, this coaching staff's apparently unbelievable. 27, the Tennessee Titans. Brian Callahan, Nick Holtz, Denard Wilson, ranked number 27, and they've actually moved up after last year, Joe. They were 28th last year in this same ranking that Ben Solak at ESPN.com put together. So the Titans, coming off a 3-14 season, their coaching staff has actually moved up one spot in the ESPN.com head coach / coordinator rankings, Joe. So get excited out there, Titans fans. Improvement right on the horizon.
You want to talk about a poverty franchise? We are like saying, ooh, 27. Well done, Titans.
Nice.
My goodness. Yeah. How about the Giants 32nd? So this is Ben Solak who does these. His write-ups are always also, by the way, they're always like, well, really, these guys are pretty good, but 32nd. He's like, I have a warmer appreciation for Shane Bowen at DC, who always gets creative. But by the way, they're 32nd. The Titans, according to him, they are not the worst coaching staff in the AFC South. This is something to be excited about. The Jacksonville Jaguars coming in a big 31. And then you got the Cowboys. That makes sense. Boy, the Jets and the Giants, man, how about that? The Titans, some interesting things. One is, of course, he talks about the offense, Burrow to Levis, all that stuff. The running game looked pretty good. Again, the offensive line could become a really good group under Bill Callahan. I mean, Bill Callahan probably, as much as anything, gives them a little bit of a bump, right? Although, like you said, I mean, they're up a spot after all of that happened last year. They did upgrade at special teams coach.
I hope so.
Although I don't know. I mean, based on the way he lays these out, he doesn't talk about. He just goes OCDC.
Yeah. No love for special teams on this Ben Solak list.
He also says, quote, as far as 27th overall coaching staffs go, this is one of my favorites, end quote. So there you go.
Good to know.
So I guess that's pretty exciting. I have not even, honestly, I haven't even so let's see. What's number one? I mean, I'm guessing it's going to be the Chiefs, right? He's going to go Andy Reid, number one overall. That's just going to be my guess. I mean, the Ravens also, I think, would have a case. Oh, Chiefs too, and he's going Vikings 1. How about that, huh?
I think that's a hot take.
Vikings 1. That's a little bit of a hot take. I mean, Kevin O'Connell's good. Brian Flores, a lot of and I think Brian Flores deserves some love for sure for that scheme and the chaos it creates. Like we talked about yesterday, it's not foolproof, but the overall bottom line of it's pretty freaking good. And I guess Wes Phillips is an OC. I guess that to me tells me that Ben Solak may be a Sam Darnold hater potentially. Because that's one of those things where it's like, look at what they did with Sam Darnold. But that is, I don't know, man. I guess I kind of would have thought like the Rams would be, he's got them 5th, but I do feel like McVay at this point, I'd give McVay the edge on Shanahan, but he's got Shanahan at 3 and that staff at 3. They do have Robert Saleh back at DC though.
They do.
Very good DC.
They do. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think Minnesota, like Kevin O'Connell, don't get me wrong. I think he's a really good head coach. Brian Flores, really good DC. I think the number one staff, like the number one head coach and coordinator, is probably a little bit of a hot take there on that front. It's hard for me to go over, Andy Reid, Spagnuolo, what he's been doing on defense forever now at this point, and say what you will about Matt Nagy as, a head coach in Chicago where nobody can get things figured out, but pretty good fit there in Kansas City as offensive coordinator.
Yeah, I mean, the obviously with the Chiefs, it's like I almost feel like at this point, just put in Krusty the Clown at OC. Just put in anybody's name.
Yep.
And just because just hasn't, and this happens. Great coaches, and then their coaching trees aren't what you think they should be. Certainly Belichick. I mean, Belichick's coaching tree. How many guys got opportunities and how many, very, very little success really out of those opportunities. I mean, Bill O'Brien, pretty good at a couple stops, but those OCs just haven't worked out. But it's Reid himself, obviously, who makes it all go. So, and that's the thing. It's like that's the dream, is to have. Look at the top. And this is when we talk about the model of Brian Callahan, not the.
We got to put
himself.
your microphone back down. There we go. You were
I'm
screaming
sorry.
into the ether with nobody hearing it.
The microphone drifted away from me. I'm sorry. Yeah, Kevin O'Connell, play calling head coach number 1. Andy Reid, play calling head coach number 2. Kyle Shanahan, play calling head coach. So then you have McVay. So there's 4 of the 5. Gosh, I don't know. Is Sean Payton a play caller?
Probably. I'd
Okay.
be stunned if he's not.
So that's 5 of the 6, and then you have John Harbaugh, who I do absolutely think belongs, very high on this list. I mean, that just tells you like that. When you get a good situation like that, and you don't have to worry about someone taking your OC away, like the Detroit Lions just had happen to them, and they're about to go back to mediocrity. That's why you want that model to work. That's why you are interested in that model.
I'm sorry, I can't get over this line that he closes this out with. Solak for the Titans. Titans had the first overall pick in this past draft, so the coaching staff can't be that good yet. But as far as 27th overall coaching staffs go, this is one of my favorites. I mean, if you're a Titans fan, that doesn't make you want to drop a bowling ball on your foot and then just kind of represent everything that's going on right now. I don't know what does.
I mean, get excited, Nashville. Well, how many years has he been doing this? Do we know?
I don't know. But I just know last year the Titans were 28th and now they're 27th.
So of the 4 different 27th overall staffs that he's had or whatever, if he's even done it for 4 years, I don't know.
Of the 2 years I've been doing this is my favorite 27th overall staff.
This is at least number 2 overall of my favorites in the 2 years. So it's like I tell Caroline all the time. I'm like, you're my favorite daughter, right? You're my favorite daughter.
Here we go.
Yeah.
By the way, you brought up Ben Johnson. He's got the Bears at number 22 on this list with Ben Johnson as head coach, Declan Doyle as offensive coordinator, and Dennis Allen as defensive coordinator. Haven't played it down yet. 22 on the list.
Yeah, that might be a little bit of a hot take. Might be a little bit of a too much love given. I mean, he goes to 11 with the Lions. I mean, look, you have a complete unknown at OC.
Where were they on the list last year?
2.
Yep, that's about what I thought.
And that's, I mean, because you had really good coordinators. You lost both coordinators. And I understand Dan Campbell, man. I mean, but Kelvin Shepard and John Morton, no clue what they are as coordinators. And this is the problem with having that model of coach, So we'll see if Dan Campbell can bite the heads off enough chickens to get everybody motivated. I tell you what, last night I mean, it's a preseason game. I'm just saying. You'd think that a really well coached team might not look like a peewee outfit.
Well, didn't the year that the Lions went 0-16, didn't they go 4-0 in the preseason?
Yes,
I think that's right. Yeah.
Yes, they did.
Went 4-0 in the preseason, then win a single game in the regular season. So maybe it's a good thing they're losing.
Rod Marinelli was just all fired up. Oh, he was so exciting. Rod freaking Marinelli.
Yeah.
Your head coach.
I mean, we went through the head coaching list earlier in the offseason. Like I think it was CBS put together like the worst coaching hires in the NFL in the last 25 years. And let me tell you, the Lions had their fair share of representatives in there.
The Lions did some work. I got to get to this text here on the last topic here real quick.
Okay.
Unnamed texter says, Terry McLaurin wouldn't be a wise decision for the Titans. It'd be like paying A.J. Brown $100 million and having Will Levis and Mason Rudolph be the quarterbacks. John Robinson made the right decision. Holy crap, dude.
Oops.
Now there's a take.
There's a take. There's no doubt about that. 615-737-1025, our phone number. We got a pre-rant from Joe Rexrode to the actual rant coming up later this hour at 7:45. We will do that next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Titans back out at camp today. Tune in for player interviews and the latest updates on the Titans training camp as the team preps for the 2025 season. Coverage of Titans training camp presented by Macero and 12 South and Parman Energy Group. Joe, you've got a pre-rant before we get to the actual rant coming up a little bit later on the program. What is it that you've seen that has bothered you this early on a Friday morning?
I don't know why this bothers me so much, but it really struck a nerve. And it's not just about this particular instance. It's about the entire idea that there's anything to something like this. So I'm going to pick on Brett Coleman. If anybody follows Brett, he has a large following on Twitter. He's the creator of All 32. He's the co-host of the Bootleg Football Podcast. You go through his timeline. He's got, he's a data guy. It looks like some good football talk. Looks like a worthwhile. I mean, there are so many people in the NFL media space. Obviously, there's so much film breakdown. I mean, with any team in this league, you can find several people who are doing that, right? And we've had some of them on our show. And that's all interesting stuff. It's worthwhile stuff. Getting into data. I mean, the NFL is sliced and diced and covered in so many ways, and I think a lot of it's great. And it gets to, and it's not like this is just some movement of film nerds who are on social media. I mean, Mina Kimes is one of my favorite analysts talking about the NFL because she absolutely has the data front and back on everything and is able to put it into layman's terms and have interesting discussions about things and shed insight on things using data. I think that's all great. So Brett Coleman seems like one of those people. Okay. Is that enough of a disclaimer?
Yeah. With all due respect.
Yeah. With all due respect. But yeah, it looks like he has worthwhile stuff here. Okay. I mean, there's just so many people like for me, I can only follow so many people and and all that stuff, but it looks like he has worthwhile stuff. This is a tweet from yesterday that he sent out, and I saw it making the rounds. I saw that like Titans media is sending us all over the place excitedly. So this is the tweet. Quote, "The drumbeat out of Nashville is that the Titans finally got the guy." End quote. And it's like, do you understand that like even the people like coaches who draft someone, spend every waking second with them, study film with them, practice with them, work on their technique, do all these things, are basically peeing themselves on game day. I hope this guy's good. Like, do we not understand that yet? There's absolutely nothing to that. And again, it's just a throwaway tweet. Someone, I guess, said something to him. Oh, they got the guy. So what does that mean? Because I mean, like, they don't have secret practices. Okay. Yeah. Like they're like what they're doing to see if he's the guy is actually being viewed by other people. And actually this week was a bad one for Cam Ward, which again, I and I'm not, don't get me wrong on that. I'm not saying, oh, this week proves it, he's going to be buns. No, not saying that at all. But like, what is the drum beat? From what? Even if the drum beat mattered, and this is where I get into like, again, think about like Tom Brady. We all know all the things about him, right? I mean, my goodness, you listen to him break down how he dissected a defense before the snap.
Yep.
And all the preparation that he did to set a standard for how you should prepare as a quarterback. All these things. That was all there. It was all there when as soon as he got to the I promise you, he worked hard. He had all those elements. He was in the building. People talked to him every day. Why didn't he get on the field until late in his second year when Drew Bledsoe got hurt? I mean, again, that's just, I understand. People say, well, because Bledsoe's a high-paid, good starter. He's a 6th-round pick. But again, the point is, all these things, the drum beat was good for Levis last year. The drum beat was Levis. Look at how he breaks down film. Levis, he's all over stuff. He gets it. Levis, he had a pretty good camp. It wasn't bad. It wasn't great, but it was like, sure. And then it's like, oh, here comes football games. I hope it works. That's every single person in this league has no freaking clue. I mean, Kyle Shanahan has said this. Brock Purdy, I don't know. Trey Lance, let's give up the entire freaking world for this guy. And let's take Brock Purdy with the last pick. And then the games happen. It's like, he's good. He's good. It's like, how are we still? And I know this is one tweet, and I am now going way overboard in trashing Brett Coleman for this tweet. But it's one of a million like this, you know?
Yeah.
Where it's like you want to like, oh, I got some inside information, but it's like there is no inside information unless it's like atrociously bad. This dude isn't showing up. He's showing up half drunk to work. And he doesn't know anything about, he's not preparing that stuff. Okay. But showing up early, working hard, doing the film, doing all the things, that's just assumed. That's what you're supposed to do. Anyone who has an opportunity like this to perform the most difficult and most lucrative job in American sports and doesn't do all those things is a complete loser. Okay? Like, talk about blowing it, squandering it. It's not notable. All that matters is when they play football, can you do it? Can you see it? Can you make the plays? All that stuff. And no one has any clue if he will. So
Well,
stop it.
And also the timing on this is just hilarious. Not that, like, let's say Cam Ward in the first 2 padded practices came out and just lit everybody up. I would still say, like, if you are after those 2 performances, if he was great this week and you're saying, well, the Titans have finally got their guy, it's like, well, can we wait till he plays some football games first before we get into all that? But it's even more funny, like, when apparently things just did not go very well at all for Cam Ward and the offense this week. And it's like, well, the drumbeat down Nashville is the Titans got their guy, baby. Quarterback play, don't worry about it anymore. It's all going to be fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, again, it's like so. That's pretty funny. The first response, I haven't looked at the response to this. The first response is, I agree. Tajay Spears is him.
There we go.
But, again, it's like, yeah, there's a bunch of jokes like, oh, I'm glad to hear they're excited about Gunnar Helm. But you got like a Titans fan with like the Grinch smile, like, oh, yes, we got it. Like, there's nothing he can do in that building like that means anything. You do what you're supposed to. It just, other than bad stuff, honestly, like, do what you're supposed to do. Great. You're early. You're all over it on the film. Of course, there's different learning curves and all that stuff. So you can be excited about that stuff. Man, I'm telling you. And I swear this is part of where Brian Callahan was coming from last year. Everybody's gonna rip him and continue to be, I'm so excited about Will Levis and he's why I took the job and that stuff. Let me tell you something. The in-building stuff with Will Levis was great. Okay. It was like he can sit there and diagnose this. He works hard. He gets it. Then you play football when it's actually real live and you actually have defense coordinators doing all they can to mess you up, and you have guys who actually are taking you to the ground. You just can't know. So it's just a pointless conversation. But I guess it's part of like a lot of pointless conversations.
Well,
that all relates back to what you said yesterday, Robbie. Like the conversation about practice in this sport is just, it's incredible.
It's incredible. It's unbelievable, and it's never ending. And it's just, it is what it is at this point. And then, the other part of that is, you mentioned that it really comes down to playing the game. And like when the ball is snapped, can you recognize what you're seeing and deliver the football where it needs to be and not get fooled in all these things? It's funny. Like I think about Brett Favre, right? And I know it's a long time ago at this point, and it's a much different game now than it was back then. But like he tells the story all the time of like, he had no idea what a nickel defense was in the end. He's like, a nickel defense? What's that? It's like, oh, okay. Well, I'm just going to go out there and throw the ball to who's open. Cool. That's what I'm doing. So it's like, it's funny, but like, my point is, like, when the ball was snapped and you played the game, I don't know that anybody would say that Brett Favre was like some Tom Brady like wizard when what he was seeing out there pre-snap, but he could handle it and throw the ball, and he had enough talent where he could just fit the ball in out there. So, some of that stuff I think gets overblown sometimes as to how important it is.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, Favre, reverse Robin Hood. My goodness, what a beaut that guy is. But yeah, I mean, Yeah, there's plenty of Brady is and Manning too, are probably great
Oh, yeah.
examples of just digging in and finding every single little thing you can. And I mean I do think that's important, but there are different ways to be a great quarterback. But in all of those different ways, there's just this, okay, we've talked about it, we've practiced it, we tried to go full speed. We try to give you the different looks. We don't know exactly what they're going to do, by the way. I mean, it's a constant chess match between the OC and the DC, right? But ultimately, there's just this, okay, here we go. I'm watching Hendon Hooker last night. I mean, I know what we saw when he was at Tennessee. And yes, there's some schematic stuff that doesn't translate to the NFL, but I know what we saw. We saw a guy who had incredible poise and presence, and just think about that Alabama game.
Yep.
That's and then I'm watching last night, and it's like, one read and tuck. No, go to 2, go to 3, quick. You got time. Go to 2, go to 3. One read tuck. It's just you don't know until you actually get to the games what's going to happen.
615-737-1025, our phone number. A point brought up by Rexrode this week as it relates to the Titans and adding a practice that I want to get into coming up next. We'll do that. Got the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode coming up at 7:45. Terron Davenport at 8. All that ahead. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Join 102.5 The Game at the Holiday Inn Nashville Airport this Sunday from 1 to 5 p.m. for the Dude Perfect Inspired Open House. We'll be on site giving away Dude Perfect tickets and Nashville Sounds Family 4-packs, plus games, prizes, and body armor drinks as well. Again, that's at the Holiday Inn Nashville Airport this Sunday from 1 to 5 p.m. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. So, Joe, as we mentioned earlier this week, another practice added today for the Titans in pads, which gets back into are we seeing enough juice from this team so far in camp, this early into camp? And D-Mace has talked about this. Others in the Nashville media brought this up too of, man, I just don't know that the energy level is quite where it needs to be out there. Now, I'm interested to see, like today, if somebody gets Brian. I don't even know if is Brian Callahan talking today? I assume that he is.
Oh, he is. You didn't see when he's talking?
I didn't.
8:55.
Good. That's good.
That nice? Yeah,
good.
real nice.
Right.
How
Right.
convenient.
How convenient.
Isn't that just perfect?
Right.
Right? We go off the air.
Close. So I'm interested to see when he talks later this morning. Like, does that come up? Does the energy level at practice come up? I mean, adding this practice, was it just something where he looked at the offense and the struggles, and it's just as simple as, yeah, man, I got to get my offense going. Let's get another practice out there. Or is he unhappy with like the effort level or the energy level or whatever you want to say from his team right now? That to me would be a really interesting point of clarification.
Yeah. Hopefully the soft Nashville media will ask some actual questions today. That would be a good one. No, I have to, it's hard for me not to read the whole situation. Like if you're a Titans player, you certainly are aware of the schedule. You're certainly aware of the heat out there. Now today is cooler, but still it's been a burner, man.
Yep.
And so camp, a lot of times obviously like you're kind of away from your family and things like that, or away from your girlfriend, whatever the case may be. And then you have these days where, and sometimes there's closed media days too. Like there's some stuff where they'll do things in the building with things like that. But to be sitting there and then all of a sudden on whatever Tuesday or whatever, or Wednesday, whenever he did it, to be like, oh yeah, we're adding a padded practice on Friday.
Yeah.
Like there's no way that's not a bleep sandwich for these players. And so I can't see how it's anything other than, okay, you guys have got to pick it up, right? It's not like you guys have done such a great job. We're having so much fun in these pads. Let's do it again on Friday, guys. What do you say? And I promise you, nobody's happy about it. So I have to think that Brian Callahan is seeing something that's lacking. There's all this talk about lacking energy. So, and again, I'm gonna default to D-Mace on stuff like that. I don't know that typically like training camp practices are always just these rocking nights at the disco, but clearly the execution is not there, and that's probably the bigger concern on the offensive side of the ball.
And I don't want to make too much of this because I think I'm largely in the camp of PK. Like if you want to see some good energy out there, make some plays, right?
Yeah.
Like you start making some plays, and the energy normally takes care of itself after that. So again, I don't want to make a huge deal of this, but we did spend some time talking about Brian Callahan and his approach to the offseason and, all the stuff they were doing in the point system and trying to bring the competitiveness up. And, he's been on record multiple times talking about how they've been competing in everything that they do. And he wants that mindset instilled in his football team. So is it not at least concerning if let's operating under the assumption that this is the case and that the energy level isn't where he wants it to be, which may or may not be true, but let's operate for the sake of this discussion that that's the case. Is it not concerning that you've done all that stuff in the offseason and you've been trying to drive home the point of competitiveness and energy level and camaraderie and all these things, and a week into camp you're having to add an extra practice because you're not happy with the energy level? I mean, to me, that's a little bit of a red flag, right?
It is. It is a little bit of a red flag. And so then it gets into, it's like, okay, how much of this is like the coach, the coach needs to get them. I mean, we heard the, God, can we play it again? We heard the Callahan, trying to get him going. Now we also, by the way, and D-Mace brought this up, we heard the GMs, we heard Berserker, the front office, basically say, yeah, we suck. So let's stop asking us questions about the Super Bowl or whatever this year. I don't know. Is that an energy drain? Did Brian Callahan not do enough?
Yeah.
Or, I mean, any coach will tell you, and I'm not trying to make any excuse for anybody, but any coach will tell you, player coach teams, the good teams are player coach teams largely, like with a lot of stuff like that, especially the intangibles and the effort and the energy and the accountability. So does this team lack guys like that? I would say at this point, I would say yes on that.
I think I would have to agree with it. Let's head back to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Daryl in Hendersonville. Daryl, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Good morning, good fellows. Hey, this, Joe, you kind of alluded to the fact that, or maybe it's not a fact, maybe it's an opinion, that there's some negativity about adding an extra practice. I'm not disputing you, but I don't get the concept at all that it would be negative, because that's literally their job, is to put on pads, go out there and hit each other and throw balls and tackle. To do an extra, maybe it would be taken negatively because they haven't worked hard enough or whatever else the case might be. But that's your job. So you should be doing it as much as you possibly can. I hate the fact that the NFL has cut back on padded practices. Maybe they don't need 2-a-days like the old days. But the fact that anybody would take that negatively in that organization when they have been so awful, you would think they would want to put every extra minute they possibly could into contact, because they're so bad at it. So as a fan, I think it's good. I don't know how much it's going to mean, but if Callahan is trying to send a message, it's long overdue. But I'm curious what you guys think about that.
Thank you, Daryl. Appreciate it. Well, here's what I would say to that, Joe. Like, yes, it's their job, right? Like their job is to go out there and play tackle football. I get that. But I also think, like, when you've structured your training camp and your practice schedule a certain way, that when an adjustment is made to it that involves another padded practice, because like just out of the blue, like if you're a player looking at it, and just like, okay, well, why did this happen? Right. Like are we not doing something out there? Like, I'm not saying that, the Titans have no interest in playing football out there, but it's just the way that camp goes. When an adjustment like this is made, if you're a player, kind of makes you raise your eyebrow a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, of course it is their job. And look, maybe this is one of those a good thing from the perspective of Brian Callahan in terms of, okay, not going to play patty cake here. Okay, fine, let's go. Yeah, it's their job. But I mean, let's face it. It's just like anything else. I mean, go back to when you're a kid. I mean, practice. How excited did you get about practice in whatever sport you were in? I mean, it might be fun, but compare it to like the excitement of the game,
Yeah.
You just want to get to the game. So, and like I said, it's like these guys, they kind of, okay, good. Friday's going to be Friday. We can do this or this, or Friday's going to be that. And instead it's like, no, strap up, man. Let's go. So I have to think that this is Brian Callahan doing it. I think there's so many times when Vrabel was coach, and I know, I'm now bringing in the Vrabel comparison, but Vrabel was a big, okay, the last day, like this last day of OTAs, screw it.
Yeah.
Or a lot of times, yeah, exactly. He'd bail on something that was scheduled. He'd do the other way because the work was good. And so it's like, if you guys do the work and everything's, energy, whatever, execution, precision, all that stuff is good. You know what? I'm going to take a day off of you. That's what you see a lot in camp. So to add one, I think that is a statement. And maybe it is a good thing, a little bit of a change for Brian Callahan to be like, okay, I mean, I'm not going to mess around then.
Yeah.
If it's not going to be what we want, then we'll just have to ask for more.
615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. We'll have the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode coming up next. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game.
Sometimes he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. And sometimes he's just, well, Joe.
Awkward moment. Let's do it.
This is the Rex Rant, now on Robbie and Rexrode.
First of all, I ask better press conference questions than you do. What's keeping me up at night is the right tackle position. That mayonnaise, that's your guy. And you got your hat on backwards? I'm talking about your clothes. And I've told myself I'm not going to let my kid become a Titan fan.
You don't know Nate Davis from a jar of Vicks.
If Tom Brady farted and you put it into a fragrance, I'd buy it.
Stillman, 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 you suck. It's all your fault. It's all your fault. It's all your fault.
Why'd you keep Craig Ackerman on the staff with the special teams issues this season? Cardell Jones, NFL quarterback with the Bills taken in the 4th round.
Define NFL quarterback. If he's on a roster, you're saying he's an NFL quarterback.
A guy that could win a game in the NFL.
Cardell Jones can win a game in the NFL.
I think Cardell Jones is going to end up being the best quarterback the Bills have on their roster right now.
Whoa.
This is the driving cat.
It is that time of the day. Time for the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode. Lord, I forgot about the Cardell Jones one. Joseph, I turn the floor over to you.
Now that's a pull. That is a pull. All right. For about the past 5 years, every Wednesday, 5 o'clock, I've taken, basically an hour out of my life, whatever you're working on, you're picking up a kid or trying to figure out dinner, whatever it is. Put that aside and argue with Jared Stillman. It has been absolutely infuriating. He has terrible takes. He twists my words to make my takes worse than they actually are, and a lot of them are pretty bad too. He cuts me off. He talks endlessly. He insults me. He makes me so mad that I hurl nasty insults at him. He mocks my work. I did this long piece on Levis after his draft, talked to like 20 people. Why is this guy so polarized and all this stuff? I thought it had some insight, had some depth. He talks about, he's like, you talk to his mommy and say he's a hard worker. What a freaking jerk. And now it's over, and I want to tell you, I want you to tell me, Robbie, I want you to tell me what the hell I'm supposed to do. Like, I guess I have to go to Jared's house, drag him out to the bar every once in a while just so we can scream at each other for an hour, or maybe make it a couple hours. What the hell are we supposed to do? Do you know how much mileage we've gotten out of Jared's takes?
Oh,
his false claims of importance, his hilarious sound bites. We don't spend 70% of the show on him, as he has claimed. But it's good to have him around. Life is less fun today. And that's not to say it's bad. We're going to be fine at 102.5 The Game. I'm excited for Jake Lyman. It's onward and upward, and Jared will be fine, more than fine. Look, if you're one of the and at some point he's going to be talking more about your team, saying things about your team that you don't like, sometimes things about your team that are true that you don't like, and he's going to be saying it to a very large audience. He is a tremendous talent. He's an exceptional talent. He's going to be in this business for a long time, and he's going to do very well. And I'm going to enjoy every minute of it because Jared is my friend, and he's a friend to all of us here. But my God, those takes. The right tackle story. Jared didn't have a freaking ladder. He uses the words anywho and tush like he's 87 years old. How about Philip Forsberg as Ellie Tolvanen's floor?
Yep.
Peter Laviolette's the best coach of all time in any sport. John Hines wouldn't know a hockey puck if it hit him in the forehead. And we can start to judge Barry Trotz after his draft class of 2033 matures. The 9-minute run for Purdue that was actually like 9 seconds. Bryce Drew is totally taking Vanderbilt to the Final Four. Joe Burrow, he's system proof. Patrick Mahomes, he's a system QB. Thanks, Andy Reid. The plane from Green Bay. The A.J. Brown trade. Oh, no, that would make sense. Yeah, I get it, John Robinson. How about Vrabel telling him, you can act like a man? How about Rand Carthon wasn't on the Titans Christmas card? So Rand must be the one getting fired, not Vrabel. All the people who suck, all the people who are losers, all the bizarre wee talk. You know what else? Jared does work hard. And if a human on this planet with a podcast and more than 5 listeners says something about the Titans, he will have the sound of that.
It's true.
He knows the league and its intricacies well. He's a great interviewer. He is not afraid to show up at a press or ask a question of someone who probably would have liked to slap him. And I want you to know, I know people in different markets. People like him, the people who throw grenades all day at people, most of those people never show up to ask questions. Never. He does. And I think some of Jared's best moments have been serious moments. I mean, the show he did after Floyd died, I mean, it was a very real, raw, emotional show. It was really special. And I thought his tribute to Aaron Donnick was the best I heard, other than the one from Willie, was the best I heard. Jared has got heart, folks. But what he does not have is the last word in our debates. The cap is real, mother farter. The end.
Oh, very good stuff. Very good stuff there from Joe Rexrode. Golly.
Cap.
I mean, I'd forgotten about a lot of those. the Forsberg being the floor for Ellie Tolvanen was a special one. I'm glad that you put that back in my memory. That was good stuff.
Cardale Jones. Oh, my gosh. That's absolutely tremendous. Just tremendous.
Cardale Jones.
I mean, that's the thing. Some of the, of course, the Nate Davis Jar of Vicks is an all-time.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Jared, 4 hours by yourself, I can't, my brain doesn't compute that. I couldn't do a half hour. But, so I all due respect for all that. And Jared and Caroline were great together. Some of the Jared and Floyd, the chemistry there, man, was there was some great stuff in there. Some great stuff.
Let's head to our 1025 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Joey and Gallatin to the program. Joey, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Good morning, guys. I felt a little, I felt some type of way this morning waking up and reading things, like giving Joe a hard time. But it's going to be, it's a weight loss, or, it's a weight that we'll feel because it's not a death, thank goodness. But it's, Jared, the crazy one of the bunch. I just wanted to give him his flowers, tell him, hey, I've appreciated his, his personality over the years, him and Joe's back and forth and everything else. But like Joe just said, at the end of the day, Jared worked his butt off. He gave flowers where they were supposed to be, and he spoke his mind, whether it was warranted or not. I think it'll all figure out. I hope he goes to another station. I can hear him or listen to it as well. But I know it'll be a little different. Joe and who's Joe going to argue with now? PK, the fuck? Come on now. But anyway, I just want to call and say, it's been a good run of the years, and I'm still listening because of the other guys, and I just hope that, he's got green pastures ahead of him.
Thank you, Joey. Appreciate the call.
No problem. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I said it to begin the show, and, I'll say it again here. I think there are some people sometimes that think that, we didn't like Jared. We do. We love Jared. And we wish him nothing but the best. And, I said people say this all the time that, such and such is going to go on to do great things. I have no doubt he's going to go on to do great things. I'm excited to see it. And I just think acknowledging him and what he's done for us, what he's done for this station is very important. And, frankly, Joe, I'm glad you got the last word on the on the debate. I feel like, when you tally up the Jared versus Joe's, you definitely came out ahead, I think.
Well, yeah, someone asked that earlier, and I was like, did you end up with a +5? I mean, I'm pretty sure, but I mean, again, and all due respect to Jared. All due respect, Jared. I mean, come on. I mean, how many Jared versus Joe's did he actually win?
I mean, not very many.
This is not supposed to be a Jared rip fest, but no, I think we've had a ton. I mean, there's a ton of reaction right now on the text line.
Yeah.
Too much to get to, and you're always going to get, you're going to get some people who are like, oh, and then you're going to get people who are really upset about it. But I think mostly it's appreciation. I mean, and it should be. Because if you really, I think sometimes with Stillman, I really believe this with a lot of people, even in the media space. I think that what happens with someone like Jared is that he'll have a take. I just went through some of the buttes, right? And so then that'll get transmitted and that'll get blasted around. And it's just like so many other things. Like there's no context. If you listen to his show, those are the ones we react to. Those are the ones we make fun of. And, you know, and I love doing the Jared voice. But listen, if you listen to a 4-hour show, you listen to a ton of interesting conversation and insight. And I think that's where, so some people never did. They just said, let's take this guy sucks, right? So I feel bad for you because you missed out. And I would advise you not to miss out. I mean, he's obviously doing serious stuff and he'll, you know, there will be more from Jared. You should not miss out because it's really good stuff.
Let's head back to our 102.5 The Game phone line. Welcome in Dylan to the program. Dylan, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Yeah, good morning, guys. How y'all doing this morning?
Good, man.
Good. So I love Jared. He's my favorite, and I know that he's a very polarizing figure. But when y'all are talking about Jared's bad takes, I thought that maybe there was potential there for a potential segment, and I don't know what y'all guys' thoughts were on this, because I feel like Jared is one to fire back on y'all's thoughts on his takes. So I wonder if there was like time dedicated to y'all researching each other's bad takes, and then something like a Jared versus Joe, or where Caroline judges like, this person has the worst takes. Like, this is my take on that, or something to that effect.
Maybe
and
so.
then secondly, I just wanted to get y'all's thoughts on the Traylon Burks experience ending as horribly as it is. Y'all might already talked about it, but those are just the two things that I had. But I thought, that would be a really interesting segment, for like a Jared versus Joe type of thing, or like, so yeah, what are y'all's thoughts on that?
Thank you, Dylan. Appreciate it. I mean, the Burks part of this, Joe, like, it's hard. I don't have a whole lot of thoughts on it because, like, from basically his first year and certainly into his second year when he got hurt, like, it's just been nothing but disappointment in terms of guy just can't stay healthy. So I have no idea what his next stop is going to be. I'm sure he's going to get one more opportunity at least in the NFL, and we'll see if he can do anything with it, the next time he's in a camp. But I don't have expectations that are that high for Traylon Burks moving forward.
Beautiful that this Jared tribute could turn into
Traylon Burks. I agree.
What a way to end it.
I agree. Terron Davenport will be with us next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game.
ESPN's Terron Davenport talking Titans now on Robby and Rexrode on ESPN 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
It is that time of the week. We welcome in our friend Terron Davenport, ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter, host of Talking with TD, to the program on our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by Wilson County Hyundai.com. TD, good morning, man. How we doing?
Hey, good morning, man. I'm doing really well, man. Appreciate you guys having me on.
Appreciate you taking time to be with us. So, TD, let's just start with what you've seen in padded practice this week from the offense. Obviously, you know, Cam Ward and the offense, not the greatest of weeks. What's your concern level? What have been some of your observations that have kind of led to some of these struggles in your mind?
Yeah, I think there should be some concern. It shouldn't be too much, but I think when you look at it, a lot of it is just the pace, the rhythm, the tempo. It has to be a little more intense. And I think that's just the overall energy in practice, period. And that's something that I've definitely noticed. You also have to look at just the blitzing and the pass rush. Like, they're able to get pressure and force Cameron Ward to have some overthrows and to just not be able to function the way that you would like to see a number one pick. But again, he's a rookie, so you got to keep that in mind. But I think, you know, the defense is clearly ahead of the offense, and that's something basically to be expected because defense is all reactionary, right? And offense, they're trying to dictate things. So it's tough, but I think there's a lot of room for improvement.
Okay, so on this energy conversation, TD, so from what you've seen so far in camp, let's just compare it to like last year's camp. Like, would you say, yes, this is like, you can see like it's reduced? There's a clear difference there. Like, is it that significant?
Yeah, it just feels like another day at work as opposed to, like, you know, like I get to go out here and do my thing. You know what I mean? Like, it's a little bit of a different energy there. The vibe, like, it's not as much of an excitement vibe this year to me.
Well, to that point, TD, you know, because, and again, I don't want to make too big a deal out of this because, you know, it's training camp, it's a weekend of camp, and it's practice. So at the end of the day, if they're making plays on Sunday, that's really the only thing that matters. But, you know, we were talking about this earlier. I do think about Callahan, and, you know, he talked in the offseason about focusing on competition and camaraderie and the energy level and all these things. And here in a weekend of camp, it just doesn't seem like the energy level's quite been there, and now he's adding a practice to it. So is that not, you know, kind of like a little bit of a yellow flag at least of, wait a minute, I've been trying to focus on all these things all offseason, and here we are a week into camp, and maybe it's not where it needs to be?
No, it's absolutely something to take note of. I think when you look at the offseason that they had and everything that they were doing to, you know, increase the competition level, you would expect them to come out charged up and amped. But, I mean, look, maybe they come alive when it comes to joint practices, and that's something. But I think what has to happen is, like, there has to be either Ward to Ridley for some type of crazy play, or James Williams coming up and smacking one of the running backs and just, like, put everything in gear. Like, you know how you get that spark, and then all of a sudden everything ignites? I think they need something like that.
So early on, TD, when it comes to the offensive line, I mean, I was out there the other day, and I thought Dan Moore handled himself well, looked pretty good. He's also largely was blocking Femi Oladipo, so that's one of those where it's like, well, the rookie, he's raw, he's supposed to be raw, so what does that really mean? But what are your impressions just of that group so far here in the early going?
Yeah, it's been up and down. But I will say this, Sam Mustipher, the backup center, he has shined in one-on-one pass pro drills, man. I've been impressed with him in that period. I also say this, J.C. Latham, Peter Skoronski, they've had solid outings as well. Dan Moore, I like his feet, man. Like, he's pretty athletic. So you do have that. It's just a matter of when all that comes together, it has to be better, right? And just for whatever reason, it seems like when they boot Cam Ward to the right, to the offense's right, the defense's left, that pressure is always coming, whether it's Sammy Oladejo, whether it's Draymond Jones, who's quietly having a lot of really nice battles with Jason Latham, or, even Arden Key. There's consistently pressure coming off the edge, and it's causing that boot that Cam does. It's causing him not to be able to go where he wants to with the football because he'll roll out and the pressure's right there. So they got to fix that. I think they've done a pretty solid job as far as blitz pickup is concerned. You're seeing all kinds of blitzes come in there, but sometimes, that nickel blitz, sometimes that does get to them.
TD, I enjoyed your piece at ESPN.com yesterday on the pass rush and Femi Oladejo. Just watching him, and I know it's early. Brian Callahan talked last week about, maybe he's a little bit ahead of where the expectations for him were heading into all this. But what do you make of kind of his situation walking into all this and how much they need him to contribute given where their pass rush is right now? What have been your observations of him to this point?
Yeah, thanks, Robby. I think when you look at Femi Oladejo, you're getting a very raw player. He said some things that I really liked when I talked to him. He said he watched Alden Smith a lot, and you can kind of tell because of how he tries to use his length and use that initial stab in his pass rush arsenal. But then he also talked about Micah Parsons, and he said how he watched him and he understands the transition, right, from middle linebacker to outside, and how it kind of helps to have played middle linebacker because you're used to seeing the full field and knowing what everybody has to do. So you're understanding concepts as opposed to your role. That makes things a little bit easier when you can work that way. But as far as what he's done, it's been up and down, right? The initial day in pads, he kind of disappeared, but then you saw him pop up on day 2. He had a pass breakup at the line. He had a would-be sack. The thing that I like about him is his get-off. This dude knows how to get off the ball, and he times it, and his first step is pretty quick, and that's something that he said really is the essential part of pass rushing. He said if you could get a good get-off and play with your hands, that'll make up for the rest. And you're kind of seeing that. And I've even seen him drop back into coverage, too. So what Denard Wilson said about throwing the sink at him is happening. And I like what we've seen so far, but like everything else, you don't get too excited. There's a lot of room for improvement.
TD, are there any tight ends distinguishing themselves at all so far?
Yeah, Gunnar Helm has done a really good job of just having that feel for where to settle in that window, right, in the end zone, and even using his size to beat man coverage. He had a catch last week, or what's today, Friday? So it was Wednesday he had a catch where he jumped in the air. The ball was behind him. He jumped in the air, and that safety was closing in, but he snapped it out of the air and corralled it to his body. And I'm like, those are the plays that you got to make, right? You got to make your quarterback right. Sometimes he's going to be off. You got to do something to help him because he's going to do stuff to help you too. It's a two-way street. So I like what he's been able to do. And, oh, by the way, he's actually had a presence in the run game. Like you watched him a 9-on-7. He's moving people. And so is Chigacompo for that matter. And David Robinson is getting a lot of catches. Also, David Martin Robinson, DMR. He's someone else to have in the factor. And, the tight ends, they've done a solid job.
TD, last thing for you here. What do you make of Jeffrey Simmons changing agents and what you think that means for him moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, there are layers to that. The relationship is still strong. It's just, some things they didn't see eye to eye on. I don't think moving to the new agent means that he's automatically going to get a new deal because, from what I understand, the Titans are pretty well stuck on where they are. I mean, the deal that Paul DeRussell did, it's still the sixth best in multiple factors, for interior defensive linemen. And I don't think it means that Jeff wants to get traded or anything like that either. It's just, they had a parting of ways and Jeff went there and it kind of is what it is.
Sounds good. TD, appreciate you so much for taking time out of your morning this morning to be with us. We'll be watching and listening today out at Titans practice, and we'll talk to you next week, my man.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate it. And I got to say, shout out to Jared Stillman, man. We got to give him his flowers.
Oh, yeah.
That was a great dedication you guys did before I came on. And man, listen, you may not like his takes all of them, but you're gonna hear them, and they're entertaining. He's great at his job. He's gonna resurface and continue to do great things, and I appreciate him allowing me to get on there and talk shop with him once a week for an hour on the Power Hour, and just more things to come.
Yeah, absolutely. Very well said. TD, thank you, brother.
Thanks, TD.
Sure.
Terron Davenport, our guest. We'll react to what TD had to say. Coming up next, take your thoughts on the Titans at 615-737-1025. Couple of thoughts from TD that I want to get to. We will get back into John Robinson's interview with Chase and Big Joe coming up later this hour as well. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Hey, fantasy football right around the corner, and Twin Peaks is your spot to stay cool under pressure. 29-degree draft beers, bites for the whole team, plus a $50 bonus card for the commish and an additional $5 bonus card for every drafter as well. Now through September the 4th, the beginning of the season, you can call to book your draft party at the Twin Peaks in Cool Springs or Madison locations. Visit twinpeaksrestaurant.com/fantasy draft for more information. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership where the buzz is always about great service. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Friday morning. Appreciate TD for being with us in the last segment. Joe, it's interesting. You mentioned Gunnar Helm there. Tight end, a position where they really are in need of somebody to step in the fold and to be productive, and maybe it has to be by committee with all three of them in there that pick up some of the slack in the passing game this year. But it sounds like good news on the Gunnar Helm front from what TD has seen to this point in camp.
Yeah, it seems like there's definitely an opportunity for him, I think, to elevate past the other two. Now, will he seize it? Is he ready for all that? I don't know, but the opportunity is there. And certainly you can see his talent, and he's made some plays. And, again, those other guys, like I said the other day, I think Chig was at fault on not correctly diagnosing what he was looking at in terms of coverage. And that was a Cam Ward pick. I believe that's what happened. Maybe those guys, maybe ask Callahan today. As he starts talking.
You think PK is going to take to your coaching that you gave him yesterday and really come in strong today with that?
Well, the problem is that there's nothing like there's not a scenario like that today, but it's like such a no-brainer.
That doesn't stop him before. I mean,
is it symbolism when you watch the film? What do you make of the offense being terrible this week?
That's pretty good.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. Well,
no Edith Bunker, but I'm working on it.
Well, yeah, it's like, definitely, I assume one of the questions today will be, okay, so why are you doing this practice?
Yeah.
Why is this practice? And I really hope, because I don't buy that it's anything other than like he's not happy with something, like he feels like they need more work. I hope it's not like, oh yeah, we just feel like we need.
It sounds gonna be a nice day, so we figured, what the heck.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a beautiful day for a little pad cracking. It's Callahan. I don't think it's ever going to change that he trends to the positive. He looks at the bright side. That's what he is going to say. I think sometimes it's okay to say, yeah, these guys are pissing me off. And then you get into, again, like TD sort of confirming it there. And again, more and more people like TD saying, like it's just another day at the office.
Yep.
Again, camp it's stifling heat. It is. I mean, it can be tough, right, to get through these days. It does get monotonous, but it is early too. And so there's another person who TD has covered a million of these camps.
Yep.
Who is saying the same thing. And then it gets into, so whose fault is that? Like, what does that speak to? I do think it speaks to a void right now of people on this roster who are true leaders. And I think maybe there's probably some people who can be that, but right now they're not comfortable being that. But man, you know what? If you're on this team, you should be able to look around and say, like, someone needs to step up here. Even if you're a young guy, if that's in your nature, step up. But then how much does it speak to like the coaching staff and what they aren't doing to, I mean, I'm sorry. Like, I have no problem with this. And I have a problem and I don't have any celebration for this, team up and let's have this little competition thing. Whatever. That's fine. Again, it doesn't bother me. It also doesn't excite me. But clearly it speaks to, Brian Callahan trying to figure out ways to get the intangibles up with this team. I mean, we made the low T joke, but I mean, it kind of fits, right?
Yeah.
Like they're the low T Titans right now.
They're the low T. And again, like, I don't want to make it too big of a deal of it. I really don't. But you go through all that stuff in the offseason and you talk about what an emphasis all that stuff is. And here we are a week into camp, Joe, with the pads coming on, and everybody that's around the practice is talking about how there's no energy out there. I mean, that to me is concerning. Like, I'm sorry. It is. And, maybe some of that's just as simple as they're not very good, right? That very well could be the easy answer to some of this, but I think it's at least a point that's worth bringing up. And look, I hope Brian Callahan is asked about it today and he addresses that in some form or fashion.
Yeah, it's concerning. I mean, you're already like a team like this with a talent deficiency compared to most of the teams that's going to play this year. Like if you don't have something extra in that way, or
you're gonna get killed.
Yeah, like I mean, like those are that's how you make up some margins sometimes. And look, I do agree with like TD was saying, and PK has said it, and I definitely agree. You know, if the rookie QB starts, you know, executing, making some big plays, that gets everybody going, no question. So you need that, but that's also a lot to put on him. There's also like other parts of the team aren't dependent on him making plays. Like, let's get going here.
Yeah, there needs to be something additional than just that. Let's head to our 102.5 The Game phone line. Welcome in Ed in Jersey to the program. Ed, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Hey, good morning, guys. So I have an opposite take to that, and I wanted to float my theory by you guys. Everything I'm hearing, like TD said, it's all business. It's, you know, work, less of an excitement levels. Well, isn't that Cam Ward? I mean, isn't that what he was lauded for? Flatlined, you know, never getting too high, never getting too low. So maybe this is actually the new culture, and he is a leader, and it's starting to rub off in the locker room. So wanted to get your take on that.
Yeah, interesting. Thanks for the call, Ed. What do you make of that, Joe?
Okay, repeat that for me.
Well, it's like you know, the big talking point with Cam Ward is how, you know, his personality lends itself to like he's not ever going to get too down, not ever going to get like overly too high about it, and maybe like that style leading or rubbing off on the rest of the team right now. I don't know. Like I'd feel better about that if there was a perceived lack of energy and he was out there just balling right now, right?
Yeah, I mean, you know, so like there's plenty of quarterbacks that's who are famously like very like Joe Burrow's one of those guys.
Eli Manning.
Yeah, he might have been too much like that. But like, did that mean that the Giants' defense was like that? I mean, those Eli Manning teams were fierce and monsters on D, right? Those guys gave Brady more trouble in those Super Bowls, you know, than he's seen most of his career. I just like you can have a quarterback have that demeanor, and that's great. And you want to that's the guy who's got to be that guy. But other people on the team, that's not what you want from them. Like the cool, calm, collected, everything's, you know, like no, your middle linebacker, you want him snot flying out of his nose and blood dripping down his forehead. I mean, you know, like some of those guys, it's football still.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and again, if Cam Ward today at practice, you know, hits 2 deep shots in a row to Ridley for touchdowns, we're probably not going to be talking on Monday morning about a lack of energy at Titans practice, right? So again, let's keep it in context here for how big a deal this really is right now. But I'm looking beyond the quarterback. I mean, we're going to spend so much time dissecting everything to do with the quarterback moving forward, but like beyond the quarterback today, you know, Ridley add a little pop to it out there, man. Like Jeffrey Simmons. And I'm not saying, you know, we know what Simmons is. Simmons is going to have energy at practice, and he's going to talk trash. But where are the other guys? Like, where are the guys in the secondary? Like, let's get this thing going a little bit. The offensive lineman, let's get it going a little bit out there. It's training camp. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, I like Snead is a guy who certainly isn't afraid to, you know, he's good, and he's not afraid to get into it with the receiver. His problem is he never practices, and he's not even available to practice anyway. Like a guy like you know, you'd like to see a Latham in year 2 now. You're not a rookie, you know. I mean, Zeitler, I know he's an ornery dude. Like, get out there. And the problem is, again, what I saw the other day is it's hard to like talk a lot of trash when 98 is blowing past you.
Yeah.
And Zeitler's a good player. He's been a good player, but like, yeah, like right now those guys are struggling to block Jeff. But it can't just be Jeff killing everyone and then and yelling about it. Like, yeah, like they've got to find energy from other sources.
So back to our 102.5 The Game phone line. Welcome in Nate to the program. Nate, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Morning, guys. All I wanted to say is that, and I know y'all can't speak on this, and I know it's basically about something that doesn't ever get discussed over the air. I just feel like the station did Jared wrong. Not even a goodbye show. I mean, that I went back and because I didn't listen yesterday, and doesn't sound like there was a show yesterday. And from what I could tell on Wednesday, there was no goodbye. So, and my wife has a friend that used to be in the radio business, so I feel like I have a good grasp on the I know this word is overused, but culture. Yeah, I just feel like Station did him wrong. No goodbye show or anything like that. Just a post for himself.
Thank you for
Have a
calling.
great day, guys.
Appreciate it. Thank you for the call. We got a lot to get to on the John Robinson front. Take your thoughts on that. The interview that he did with Chase and Big Joe yesterday. A couple interesting things, including on the A.J. Brown front that we will get back into coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. 615-737-1025. I got some tickets to give away. A pair of tickets to see Volbeat and Hailstorm at First Bank Amphitheater tomorrow. Be caller 5, 615-737-1025. Caller 5 will win a pair of tickets to see Volbeat and Hailstorm coming up at First Bank Amphitheater tomorrow, Saturday, August the 2nd. 615-737-1025. Joe, an interesting interview yesterday. John Robinson sat down with Chase and Big Joe for an hour, and they got into several different things, one of which being the A.J. Brown situation. And we knew that that would come up, and it came up pretty early in the interview. Big Joe asking him about what exactly went down on the A.J. Brown front. Here is what former Titans general manager John Robinson had to say on the A.J. Brown front yesterday.
That's a topic everybody probably is tuning in to hear about. And I can't, as I would love to give in the details. I can't go into the details on it, but there was just a lot of discussion that went into that decision. Ultimately, it was my responsibility to make the decision, and again, if I had one of those mulligans, I would probably do that. And that's nothing against Traylon or anybody else, but I think AJ's went on to have a great run. I'm proud of him. I'm proud of where he's at, and what he's been able to accomplish. But sure, I mean, in hindsight, if you had a do-over, I mean, I'd be an idiot to sit here and say, no, I'll do it again. Like, no, you'd do it different. But we made the decision that we made, and then, the rest is what it is.
When you say, if you can't talk about it, I understand it. When you say we, who is we?
Well, anytime you make a decision, right, it's collectively as an organization. There's a lot of people involved, right? It's not like it's like when the offensive coordinator or the defensive coordinator, when they call a play on Sunday, it's not like they're shooting from the hip and they're like, oh, I'm just going to run this play, even though you haven't practiced it, you haven't talked about it, you haven't watched it on film. Like, you go through every scenario with the organization, and it's the same thing in roster building. It's like you're going through, your free agency stuff, you're going through trade proposals, you're going through draft prep, and you talk internally and you meet, and you come up with scenarios. All right, we can do A, we can do B, we can do C, and as a team, and I think I said this at the press conference after we made the move. It's like we collectively we made a decision to do this, and that's what we did.
So that was John Robinson on Chasing Big Joe yesterday, discussing the A.J. Brown situation. Now, Joe, as you've mentioned, one thing that you have to keep in mind when these discussions go down, John Robinson is still being paid by the Tennessee Titans. When somebody like John Robinson gets fired from that position by the Titans, there is an NDA that they sign where there are just certain things that he is not going to talk about. So basically, that's how he started the interview yesterday. It was like, there are some things I can talk about, some things I can't. And he did not go into, specific details about everything that led into the A.J. Brown trade. But what was your, I guess, biggest takeaway from what he did say about A.J. Brown and the way everything went down?
Yeah, that's probably it. It might even be a little more than I would have thought. And I'm good for good questions, really good conversation during that hour. I think my big takeaway from that hour was he's funny. He'd be good doing a podcast, being in media if he wanted to do that. But on the A.J. Brown in particular, I do hope that if you heard that, like we had this, I don't even remember when this happened. We kind of had this argument with Chase and Big Joe, right? About the whole, like, is, John Robinson culpable on A.J. Brown? And it's like, you could, and there was more argument on their side, like, well, really, is it really him that we blame? And I say yes. I said yes then. I say yes now. He's the GM. He did the negotiating. Of course, owners at times step in. We know about like Bud Adams and Vince Young and Jerry Jones. Well, I mean, I guess Jerry Jones is the GM anyway, but like John Robinson's the GM. I mean, you can't take, if you want to do that, you want to play that game, then just don't ever blame any GM for anything, right? It's just the owner. I mean, John Robinson, and he said it. I mean, listen to him. He's sitting there at another point talking about, if I could take a mulligan on that, I'd be an idiot not to, right? Well, he didn't say, if Amy could take a mulligan on that. I mean, and even if that were true, obviously, there is an NDA that people sign when they get fired and they have years of pay to come. But yeah, it was his negotiation, and it was the mistake of his career, in my opinion. He had 3, bad draft picks in a row that helped kind of seal his fate with the job. But that move was the one that, like he said, he'd like to have it back. And I'd be interested to know, like, what things might look like today if he did have it back.
Well, how different do you think it would be if let's say they make the deal and A.J. Brown comes to an agreement with the Tennessee Titans back in the day, which, look, there's a lot of things prior to that were starting to go wrong. I still, Joe, this is just me, and other people may view it differently, and that's fine. But I still kind of look at that moment as where things really started to go the other way. And I know that the Isaiah Wilson draft happened before that, and Caleb Farley was picked before that. But I look at the A.J. Brown decision as kind of like almost a line of demarcation here of when this organization went from being a competitive team in the AFC to on the verge of being one of the worst teams in the NFL. Like that to me is where I go back to. So how much different do you think it would be now had that deal been made?
If you really want to go down a rabbit hole, you could, it could get interesting. I mean, the thing is, it's like, okay, so they signed A.J. Brown, right?
Yeah.
They sign him. So first of all, there's no question in my mind that the 2022 Tennessee Titans win the AFC South going away. Now, they were in first place when they fired John Robinson, but they win it going away. And they're a team that, to me, now, this is where you get into, I mean, if A.J. Brown's on the field, everything's different. And when you have a player like that, and coaches will tell you this, when you have a player like that, that helps everything. It helps your pass protection, right? I mean, it helps everything. So, okay, so in the first round now of the 2022 draft, they are, who are they taking? I mean, they're not taking a receiver. That's funny because we actually were talking going to that draft about Traylon Burks as like, do they need to get another young receiver in, right? But I think it's probably likely that they're taking someone else, I mean, do they take like, Trent McDuffie at corner? That's the thing. It's like you start going Trevor Penning at offensive tackle. I mean, you start going down the list of different guys that they might have taken. What about George Karlaftis, the edge from Purdue who went to the Chiefs? Like then everything's different. Maybe their entire draft board is completely changed and better. It's possible. Now, granted, those drafts top to bottom were bad. So, I mean, you have to remember that too. Like, McCreary was a good pick that year at 35. But I mean, just by not having that move and then looking at something else, you could have a completely different situation.
Yeah.
Is it possible? So like, does Tannehill get hurt? Does Tannehill diminish? Do they still take a flyer on that? That was the year they took Malik Willis, right? That was the year they took the flyer on Malik Willis.
I believe that is correct. Yes.
Do they somehow avoid taking Nicholas Petit Frere at 69 overall? I don't know. Like, it's like, that's where you get into the butterfly effect with this stuff. And it's like, it could completely change things, but I do feel confident in saying they win the 2022 division. They go to the playoffs and do whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, like with Tannehill, with Henry, with A.J. Brown, that's an offense that has a chance to do something. And then if Vrabel and Robinson are back in 2023, and I don't know from there, maybe it's still like the other mistakes that we know had already been made, Wilson and Farley and other picks were still going to be too much. And eventually it was going to be inevitable anyway, but I don't know that for sure.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. A couple thoughts to wrap up the show with on the Titans that we'll get to coming up next. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. 615-737-1025, our phone number, 615-737-1025. Joe, couple of quick notes to hit through. Terry McLaurin has requested a trade from Washington, so he is involved in a contract dispute there, and we'll see what ends up happening in that. He has not been on the field at training camp so far. Apparently, he's holding in. And then when practice is over, he just kind of walks out there and signs autographs for the fans for like 30 minutes and then walks back in the door. And that's what Terry McLaurin's training camp has been to this point. So what do you make of that situation? Do you think it ultimately gets resolved in Washington? Or do you think here in the next week or 2 weeks, we're talking about Terry McLaurin being actually traded from the Washington Commanders fresh off a trip to the NFC title game last year?
Yeah, I doubt it. I think they'll probably work it out. They've told teams have already been calling. They've told teams, according to Nikki Jabala's reporting, that they're not trading him. So he's amping up the pressure, but I think they'll probably work it out. And in this market, just like any other NFL market, I don't know. Maybe there's some NFL markets where people are like, wait, like Cincinnati, they're good. They kept those guys, but not, just about most NFL market, maybe Philly NFL markets. They're talking about, ooh, Scary Terry. What do you think? This is not the market to be talking about Scary Terry.
I agree.
Turns 30 on September 15th. Just does not match up with the reality of your football team right now. That'd be a waste. And draft and develop. The thing about draft and develop is you guys need opportunities. So I don't know how good DK is going to be. I don't know how good Manor is going to be. I do know that right now with this receiver room, there's opportunity, and you don't develop someone. It's kind of like even the conversation with Cam at quarterback. I mean, you could take those mental reps. You could watch the film and sit there and watch Brandon Allen play, and then I guess get better through osmosis, or you can go play, and that's how you develop, by playing football. So this is a situation where the Titans need to see if these young guys can play and turn into good players.
You got the Hall of Fame game last night, which Rexrode, God bless his soul, watched every single snap of. So congratulations to Rexrode for that. A debilitating loss for the Detroit Lions last night. They lose 34-7 to the Chargers, but football is kind of back. And we got to see Trey Lance sling the ball around a little bit last night. Not necessarily memorable performances from Hendon Hooker and Kyle Allen on the Detroit quarterback front last night. And Joe, I've said this, I think this is a big moment, a big camp for Hendon Hooker. If he cannot distance himself in this competition as for the backup quarterback from Kyle Allen, that to me is not a very good indicator of where his NFL career is headed. So something, if you're a Tennessee fan out there and you're pulling for Hendon Hooker, it's something to keep an eye on over the next few weeks. There needs to, at the end of this, be some distance between Hendon Hooker and Kyle Allen, in my mind.
Yeah, and look, Kyle Allen threw just a couple of ghastly picks.
Just brutal.
The first one was just like, let's stare this down all the way. Make sure the DB is actually standing in front of my guy before I throw it to him, after telegraphing it. Here you go. And the second one was bad too. So it's not like Kyle Allen setting the world on fire, but I was disappointed watching Hendon Hooker. He had one excellent throw, and it was actually the pick, and it was a deep shot to the rookie Dominic Lovett from Georgia, who I think might have a chance of sticking, but he's got to come away with that ball, and he sort of let it go, and then the DB ripped it away. That was actually a really good throw by Hendon Hooker, but again, I'm watching him. I've been bullish on Hendon Hooker as an NFL starting quarterback, and that's just based on watching him play in college and the poise, the awareness, the touch on the ball, the ability to escape pressure and extend plays. Yeah, last night it's way too many times. It's like first read taken away, eyes go down, running with the ball. First read taken away, eyes go down, running with the ball. You gotta. It's probably a little bit of not trusting your offensive line, but you gotta get to those reads and get the ball out. And it seems like he's still struggling with that.
What do you think you'll enjoy more when the preseason wraps up? Having watched Kyle Allen play quarterback, or the treat we're about to get here in a few weeks of watching Tim Boyle play some significant preseason football.
Yeah. That's going to
That's
be really
illegal,
interesting.
and I'm calling the feds in to shut this down.
Yeah.
I kind of hope Tim Boyle goes out there and lights it up with just like how much Kuharski has totally bashed it from the beginning of, I don't even know how this guy's in the league. Have no clue. This guy is terrible. I hope he goes out there in the preseason and just lights it up. Go Tim Boyle.
I swear, I like the other day, I thought he looked pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, I mean, we're a week away from, and I know we'll talk about this next week, but it's like, man, I just really believe in, like, when you are Mike Vrabel and you have Ryan Tannehill, or you're whatever coach and you have veteran, proven, good quarterback. I barely, if at all, playing that guy in the preseason. Andy Reid threw Mahomes out there a little bit last year, but for the most part, barely throwing him out there. You have a team that's supposed to be good. When you have a team that you've already acknowledged is bad, maybe you haven't, but your front office has, acknowledged is bad, and you have a rookie quarterback who needs as much work as possible, I do hope that Brian Callahan's like, yeah, man, like, Cam's got to get out there, play against guys who are trying to tackle him in real football. And you know what? Is it a risk? Sure, it's a risk, but also, like, how are you getting better? And it seems like there needs to be a little bit of an accelerator right now. I know it's early in camp, but I hope that they decide that they're going to give him a fair amount of work in these games.
Well, the Bengals
I don't know. I don't know what to expect.
The Bengals said their plan is to give Joe Burrow more preseason reps this year, try and get off to a faster start. Maybe we're seeing a trend.
Well, even last year there was some talk of that. It wasn't just the big one that sticks out to me is the Chiefs. And I was like, oh my gosh, he actually played him a few series in that preseason game. A few other teams did that too. So yeah, it's like everybody sucks on offense at the beginning of the year. So it's like, gee, here's a thought. It's risk reward, but I feel like, especially if you're just you're in a development team in a rebuild, that seems like definitely the time to consider playing those guys some.
Yeah, I just talked about wanting to see Tim Boyle play some good preseason football. Now you're talking about taking all the snaps away from him so Cam Moore can get ready. What are we doing?
He'll get. Don't worry. He'll still get plenty. We'll get plenty of Tim Boyle. We'll get plenty of Brandon Allen. We will get Mason Kinsey. Lighting it up.
He's going to lead the Titans in receiving in the preseason. There's no doubt.
We will get Julius Chestnut absolutely trucking people. We'll get the usual preseason heroes will be out there too.
I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I enjoy preseason football for about 8 minutes. I know there's some people that love it. Like, there are some people that absolutely love, like, even, deep into the third, fourth quarter of preseason games when nobody you've ever heard of is out there playing football, but like picking your guy, right? Like, who's going to make the roster? Who's the guy that I want to see make the roster here? So there's some Titans fans that love that. So I'm looking forward to seeing who that guy is this year.
Yeah, look, if you're really into this team and you get into those roster belts, that's great. I mean, that's you are one of the diehards, and sometimes it feels like those are the only people who watch these games. But like Ian said yesterday, it's like I think eventually we're going to get to 18-2. It's going to be 18, and it's going to be 2, and 2's probably fine, but it's still going to be whatever you cut it down to. At least one of those preseason games will be completely worthless in terms of it'll just be like roster cut game, and it's just like everybody trying to get in and get out and not get hurt. But that's just that's one of the ways that football has changed for the worse.
Are your quickly as we wrap up here, Joe? Are your Tigers winning the World Series after the trade deadline?
I'm not very happy with what they did. Finnegan's a good pickup from the Nats. That helps the bullpen. They got a lot of arms, but to me, like, they didn't give up any of their prospects. Like, my little brother's like, yeah, they didn't give up. I'm like, yeah, but like, we don't know that next year they're going to have a chance. And the year after that, Scooble's probably pitching for the Yankees. So to me, it's like, while you have Scooble this year and next year,
I agree.
I would be all in, and I would give up a prospect. They got, some people think the best farm system in baseball. Give up some prospects and win. And I just don't think they're going to win the World Series with this team, and I'm very disappointed. Thanks for bringing it up.
Yeah, no problem. That's going to do it for us today. Hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. Chasing Big Joe up next. You're listening to 102.5 The Game.